speaking of winners, we got Gary Antuanne Russell. Shout out to my producer in the background versus Puello. Former world champion Alberto defends this. It was a vacant belt, right? This was the
Yeah, it was
vacant.
at WBC
Yeah, the
interim.
WBC. This was
No,
vacant.
no,
So
no, no, it wasn't vacant. It wasn't vacant. This is an interim match. It's an interim.
Yeah,
okay, they say secure the vacant interim WBC.
yeah,
So,
interim.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the interim. So you know who holds the WBC? I'm gonna ask you that one. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Come on, Ty. Come
AOL,
on, Ty. Ty, you know, Ty. Come on, Ty.
AOL.
Devin.
I'm trying to remember what weight class he in. I'm trying to remember what weight class he in. It's light.
Oh, Devin, what?
Don't Devin hold the WBC?
You better be right. You better be right.
What weight is it? What weight is he in?
It
Super
says
lightweight.
super lightweight.
Yeah. Yeah, Devin holds that.
Devin holds that.
Ty like a computer. Did y'all just see that? He just looked up and got the answer. He
No,
like
that
AI.
he did just calculate that.
He was like AI.
yeah.
He
He
said,
probably
"What
was
the
like,
weight
hold
class
on,
is?"
hold on. He was
Devin.
like, okay, all right. IBF was Matias, and then T.O. holds the WBO. So he was like, oh yeah, I know, yeah. He was calculating that one.
Well, I mean, this fight right here was full of counters, comebacks and counters, and a lot of combos. But again, at the end of the night, or what they say, at the end of the day got to end, and Alberto was deemed a victor in this one. So I know a lot of people, people watch undercards. This is one of the undercards I caught the last round of, and I was just like, ooh, and I got a few notes about it. But Ricky, tell me about this fight, man.
So I definitely had to watch this because the Russell family is big in the boxing industry in general. So
Man,
had to watch this one. In my opinion, it's not too much I can say, even though Russell lost. I'm not gonna say that he could have really changed or do. It's just that I feel like the edge was on Alberto Puello's side when the counters in the early rounds was crazy. Like he was countering like crazy. I don't think he could. I don't think it was too much to defend against it because it showed how much reach he had more over Gary. And honestly, I wouldn't even change Gary's game plan too much besides
I agree with
defend
that.
against the counter in the early rounds. But this fight, I want to say, it was a very close fight, and I was leaning more towards Gary's side until I watched the fight again. I just seen them heavy counters and them punches being thrown in between punches by Puello, and I was like, very close, very close. So I can understand why Puello won, but I still think Gary Russell is still, a good contender in that weight class, and this loss doesn't mean anything. Like I think he's still gonna go further beyond this. I don't know about Puello because that's my first time watching Puello, to be honest. But I think Gary definitely still will go further, even though he took this loss.
Now, I agree with you as far as the game plan was the same. I think one thing the corner should have done is at least, because again, I didn't watch the entire fight. Maybe they did tell him this, is be prepared for those counters. Because it seemed like with Alberto, he was more so like, all right, Gary gonna throw his combos and just swing a quick one. Or Gary gonna throw another combo and just swing another one. Like he was just like, all right, whatever you do, I'm a counter. I'm gonna just play the counter game this entire fight, and hopefully it leads to a knockout or it leads me to the victory. And that's kind of what happened.
One thing I want to say that he was swift, but also I can tell he studied. He had to study Gary because the way he was, because they both, if I'm not mistaken, they both were southpaws. But the way he was throwing in between his punches, like it was perfectly timed. Like he found the gap that was there to throw the punch and land. So when you have someone that has you studied down like that, it's hard to combat that because those are your natural instincts. This is your natural speed, your natural reaction. It's hard to combat that. But later in the rounds, he started to defend against it and started to apply more pressure. But again, I think it was just the points in the early rounds that caused him to lose the fight.
Yeah, I think he lost the fight because one, that was his first fight against a southpaw. So the only time he's ever fought a southpaw was in sparring. So right there, hopefully he gained some experience from that. And the other thing he recently lost because Puello kept using that jab on him. Like nothing he could really do with the jab, and plus he kept using his length because he has, like you said, a long reach. So
yeah, he had longer reach. Yeah, and then you know who Puello remind me of? Just a southpaw Devon, because he was too laid back. He was just too laid back and reacting only to counter opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think this was a good fight to put Gary pushing forward. To be honest, I think it's a good fight to push him forward. To be honest.
And another keynote too, when you said about studying, I forgot what round it was, but he was so used to Gary throwing them combos. At one time, he found a way to swoop up under him, and Gary swung, and then he seen it, and Gary he just laughed like, "Okay, that was a good one."
Yeah, I know you're talking about. That was in the early round. Yeah, I think that was like round 4 or 5, and he missed, and Gary missed, and he was like, "Okay," he smiled at him. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah,
he gave him a look like, "Oh, you did your homework, all right," and got right back to it. But I mean, that's the first L. But again, in boxing, everybody again chasing the O's. But once you take the first L, now it's like it's a learning curve, and then you could build off of that. So with this
one thing about taking the L though that's very important. When you take it, you fearless. There's nothing else that can to stop you, hurt you, nothing. You just ultimately fearless in the ring. Nothing else matters no more. You know what I'm saying? When you take that. Yeah, and look, that's all the L is a learning experience because everybody don't fight the same.
You know a heavyweight who didn't learn. He just keep losing.
Don't sneak this one. Don't sneak this, my man. You can't sneak this, my man. You gotta stop that. You gotta stop that. Talking about a heavyweight. You said a heavyweight, right?
Who?
Huh?
I ain't say no names.
Yeah, I know. You sneak this in.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how hog tie people. Why would I hog tie? I don't know what you're talking about. It's all about how you learn from that loss, man. I agree with that one, fellas. And